Hello everyone, today we're going to do the engine mounts on this baby right here. It's an ML500 2004 W163 body style, and after 250,000 miles it's time to change the engine mounts on this thing, so let's make it happen. Alright, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to jack it up front and back, which will give me an opportunity to do an undercarriage inspection. We'll then remove the front two wheels and the front fender's inner lining, open the hood, and we'll start with that. Okay, now that we have the front wheels removed, we'll remove this front fender's inner lining, and it's done by removing these plastic 10mm retainers here. There's a bunch of them. Just got to look around and make sure right here you don't miss any. And the same thing goes on the other side. Now, mind you, the driver's side will be the harder one to do, where the access isn't as good as the passenger side. And for the passenger side, we're going to remove the air box, and it's really all just clips, and this thing should dislodge right out. Make this an opportunity for yourself to do some cleanup too, so that the car looks cleaner. I mean, after all, guys, I mean, the eyes gotta eat too, and what we do and how we do it is a reflection of who we are. That being said, let's remove the inner fender wells, and let's remove this air box, and we'll move on to the next thing. I do want to tackle the driver's side first, because that's the hardest one. So let's do this, guys. Let's do this. The front fender wells, inner linings, or I'm not sure exactly what these are called, have been removed. There are 6 studs. They're all the way around, and therefore 6 of those plastic 10mm nuts I was telling you about earlier. If you don't find the 10mm nuts, it's probably because you're not looking hard enough, or maybe it's because you're missing some of these plastic retainers. So like I said, I took the left side out, which will need to be removed, and next we're going to remove these heat shields right here, but that's not the point right now. And I also removed on the other side I removed the fender inner lining as well, because I mean, personally, I like to work comfortable, and I'm not trying to get frustrated or aggravated, and it also reflects on the quality of work I do, because if I'm frustrated or aggravated when I do work, and it'll reflect how the work comes out. And after all, guys, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I like to be comfortable when I do work. I also removed the air box right here. You'll see it, 1, 2, 3, and it just clips right out. And here's your airflow sensor. Now this box has 2 inlets before the filter. So you have one right here, and you have one right here, and it just clips in right here for the bottom. Now vacuuming it up to clean it up, and this is what it looks like. See it? And it just clips right in. All right, so like I said, we removed the front fender inner wells, removed the air box. We're now going to remove these heat shields right here, and it should be 10mm. Yeah, they're 10mm bolts, and it will provide us further access for the removal of the left side, driver's side engine mount, which is the harder one. We start out with the harder one, and then we finish off with the easy work instead of starting off easy. Then as the day goes on and you get tired and it's hot or it's cold or whatever the case may be, and having to tackle harder work just isn't a healthy way to go about doing anything. This is why personally I like to start with the hard work first and then finish off on some easy stuff. All right, guys, let's remove this heat shield right here. We have taken the first 2 heat shields off, but as you can see, there's still a component right here. It's another part of the heat shield It's in the way. I took that one off right there, and I took that one off right there, and that one is the last one. There's also, there's some more 10mm bolts, and as you can see, and it has these hooks. I don't know if you can see it. Right here, see it? Right here. There's a coolant line coming through. I dislodged it in the front and the back. The same thing as in the front. There are 4 10mm bolts left, and that will be the last part of it before we can get to the left side motor mount. I know it's a pain, but in the long run it'll make it easier to do a good job. I don't know if you can see it. Here it is, guys. This is what we're aiming to take off right here. This shield right here, that it's right under the exhaust manifold. You'll see it once it's off, you'll see what I'm talking about. That will make the job a whole lot easier. Hey guys, let me give you a better angle. Maybe you can see it better. See those 2 bolts right there? That's in that loop right there. That's the front end of where that coolant line runs through. And these are the 2 bolts. Actually, there's 3 bolts, 2 in the front and 1 in the back. You can see see it? See that bolt right there? That's the 3rd bolt for the last and final piece of the heat shield that hides the left side engine mount. God, I think this thing is leaking water, not water, but leaking oil like a sieve. I'm gonna have to address it at some point between valve cover gaskets and God knows what else. Probably be that oil heat exchanger where the oil filter is, but that's a video for another time. Let's continue to get this shield off. I also had to remove, as you can tell, the shroud that it's under the engine for when you have to change the oil. Yeah, let's continue, guys. I figure I'll show you guys what I'm talking about, so you have an idea. I don't want to leave you with that information. Okay, so as you can tell, I dislodged from the hooks, the loops, the coolant line, and I'm removing those 3 bolts and the final piece of the heat shield. We have achieved maximum access. Here we go, guys. We're ready to do the job. See that? That's the top of the engine mount. That's an 18mm nut, and there are 2 17mm nuts on the bottom. Same thing goes for the other side. So what we'll do is we'll loosen up these nuts top and bottom, and then we'll put a jack under the oil pan. Look at that. We'll put a jack. Here's your engine mount right there. You see it? Here it is. We'll put an oil jack with a wood under the oil pan, lift up the engine, and then we'll actually have to remove this right here. This is a engine mount support that's attached to the engine block. We'll have to actually separate that from to be able to remove the engine mount. All right, guys, let's move on to the next thing. I just wanted to show you. Here it is, right here. This is that pane that I was telling you about, with 2 bolts in the front and 1 on the back. So you've removed this, and then you have full access to everything in it. And it's gonna be all right. We'll do the job, and we're gonna do it right. All right, guys, we did it. All the hardware is I don't know if you can see it. Where is it? You see it right there? Well, kinda. Here it is right there. See it? The nut on top is removed. So are the 2. It's 18mm on top. There's 2 17mm nuts on the bottom. This is what they look like right here. And the 18mm on top comes with a washer, so be careful not to lose that. And there's a heat shield on top of that as well. And we did the same thing on the other side. Now, on the other side, you have got to be careful about one thing of paramount importance. If you look on the mount here, this wiring here, that goes to your starter, and it runs right on top of the engine support that goes on top of the mount. See, the hardware has been removed already, but this cabling here, you got to be careful when the time comes to put all this stuff back on. And make sure that when you put the support back on, you have the engine mount. You have your not the engine mount. You have your electrical wiring out of the way, lest you pinch the cabling that goes to the starter, and then you're screwed. All right, guys, let's jack it up, and then we'll go on to separate the engine support from the mount, and we'll remove these bolts here, and we can finally take the engine mounts out. Let's do it, guys. The engine mounts are freed from the, God, this one is shot. This one is destroyed. Anyway, the car is jacked up. This is how I did it, guys, so you have an idea before you put a hole through your oil pan. See how I did it? I put a 2x4 across the bottom of the oil pan and a 2x4 behind the stabilizer bar, crossbar. It's a suspension bar, and I jacked it up a little bit. Sorry, dropped the phone. A little bit, enough so that the motor mounts move. Yeah, I'll show you guys right here. This one too. Let me see. Yeah, it's moving. It's free. So now what we're gonna do is they're size E12s. We're gonna take these 4 bolts out, and I think there's 6 on the other side. Let's make it happen, and the motor mounts should be coming out. All right, guys, the motor mounts are finally out. This one is the one I was telling you about, that it's just, as you can tell, it's just destroyed. No wonder the car was jerking. Now this is the engine support, or the support that mounts onto the engine block. As I mentioned to you earlier, there's 6 bolts. There is 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's actually 5, and this one is for the compressor. However, to get to this one, I couldn't. I tried to stick an E12 socket in there. It wasn't working, so there are E12 wrenches available out there. I just didn't have one available to me on a Saturday afternoon because no one carries designated wrenches. But yeah, this is it. All right, guys, this is the back part, this is the front part, and your motor mount, it should say front on top of it. See it, kind of like right there? Not all motor mounts say it, but all the motor mounts have a bigger lip in the back and a shorter lip in the front. This is the front part, this is the back part. Same thing on the other side. See, I had to loosen up the belt. I had to shift the compressor. That has 3 bolts size E12s as well. I had to shift the compressor so that I can actually get to that last E12 bolt to take the motor mount out. Here's the other, but the passenger side was fine, although it was on its way out too, as you can tell. See this gap, how big it is, whereas this one is much thicker too. So I guess this is it. We're gonna put it all back together. I will attach to this video the maintenance procedures for this job and the torque specs as well. So you put it all back together according to the specs. Don't forget what I mentioned to you earlier, that the wiring for the starter runs right on top of that engine mount or the engine support. So make sure you don't pinch the wiring for it. It is now time to put it all back together. Let's do it, guys. Let's make this happen. The engine mounts are just about in, or kinda. The first thing you're gonna do, I'm gonna give you guys some tips here on how to probably center and align and reduce the stress in the actual mounts so that it extends the life of the engine mounts. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna install the retaining the engine supports. In other words, those brackets that mount against the engine block. Left side has 5 bolts plus 1 for the AC compressor, and on the right side has 4. Once you have that, you will install the engine mount. Obviously, it's loose between the frame and the retaining bracket. And then what you're going to do is put the nut on top, as you can see. Let me see if you can see it. You see it? I put the nut on top with that little heat shield, and I did the same thing on the other side. And then you're going to drop the engine with the jack. Once you drop the engine, you're going to give it a little. You're going to give this engine a little push, and the reason for that is because the holes on the left side of the engine mounts, they're actually fixed. Whereas the holes on the bottom of the engine mount on the right side, they're actually slotted. So what happens if you don't put the nuts on the bottom, but you put the nuts on top with the engine brackets or the engine supports installed, then once you give it a little push to the engine, this engine will kind of settle within the holes of the engine mounts, and that's when you put the bottom nuts in. Now, that being said, those nuts, there is no 16 millimeter that I could find, so you could either use a 17 millimeter, or if you want a really tight fit, you can use a 5/8 socket that's equal to a 16 millimeter. And I assure you, this thing goes in nice. Let me see if I could. Where is it? Let me see. Here, see it? Can you see it? It says, yeah, 5/8. See 5/8? And if you put it on the bottom nuts, it fits like a champ, nice and snug. You could use 17 millimeter. It would be a little bit on the loose side. But if you use the 5/8 instead of, because 16 millimeter I cannot find, then you'll do a phenomenal job. Again, on the bottom of the video, in the description section, you will find the procedures and all the torque specs for all the key elements of this job, such as the supports against the engine block and the torques of the engine mounts, top and bottom. That being said, let's continue. The engine mounts are fully installed. The two nuts on the bottom on this side. I don't know if you can see them on this side here. They're a little harder to see. Let me see, they're right behind this hose. You know, I wish it was a little easier sometimes. Here they are. See them? Yeah, they're also installed on this side. Tighten the torque on top, torque on the bottom. The frame, the engine supports are all installed. And from here on now, it's the heat shields and the inner fender wells. And you got this, guys. It's the backwards of the removal process. Give it a thumbs up. Let me roll off my back. Hold on before you leave me. You don't leave me just yet. Here I am. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, guys. I love to do what I do for the sake of helping you. I gotta tell you, I mean, even though we went a little above and beyond, you know, but because that's what we do here at AM&C Technology. We go above and beyond to do a beautiful job. Torqued on the bottom, torqued on top, everything is copacetic. Compressor is back in. That's the nut that I was telling you about. You know, you can get, like I said, a 16, an E12 wrench, but I couldn't get it today. Son of a gun. I couldn't put a socket on it unless they dropped the compressor. No, it was just, the compressor, just 3 bolts. It's the same size E12s. And what it does is once you take the one on the back to access that final bolt back there, you need the other 2 in the front. I don't know if you can see them. Let me see if you can see them. You see them on the compressor? See it? 1, and it's right, I believe it's up there. And the compressor just slides down, and it gives you access to that E12, guys. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Love helping you guys, and I will see you at the next one. Bye.